Hi, I'm Dr. Neil Cox from the University of Reading, and this is my second talk on NAGRA's Look We Have coming to Dover. If you haven't seen the first one, go and have a look at the first video. I ended last time by saying that there is something ironic going on in this poem, and irony is something that's quite difficult to get a handle on. I think we can get sarcasm, can't we? If I say this is going to be a good video, if I'm being sarcastic, it means it is not going to be a good video. Yeah? Irony is something different. It's not, well, it's linked, but it's different. It's not simply saying the opposite of what you mean. It's saying something other than what you mean. So, for example, if I said this is going to be an interesting video, that could mean that it's going to be fascinating. It's generally going to be really, really interesting. You're going to be hooked, Or it could mean, it's going to be interesting because it's quite interesting to see an academic fall flat on his face trying to explain something, There's a doubleness to irony. Irony means more than one thing. And I read NAGRA's poem to be a work of irony and doubleness. Now, there's also, of course, a kind of a doubleness in poetry. Great poetry is always, in a sense, sort of double-voiced in a way. And the relationship between poetry and irony is a very interesting one, I think. There is a kind of, there is an irony in this poetry, and there's a poetry in the irony. And here I'm thinking, and I'll talk more about this in the next video, but I'm thinking about things like the last lines of the poem. Imagine my love and I, as sundry others, blared in the cash of our beeswax cars, our crash clothes free. We raise our charged glasses over unparasoled tables, east, babbling our lingos, flecked by the chalk of Britannia. What does it mean to say babbling our lingos? Is that the narration's understanding of what's going on? Is there the idea that this is a kind of a celebration of this? Or is it that actually there is something here very dismissive about what's going on? And also, of course, the babbling our lingos, in a way, is being narrated not from the point of view of that own lingos, our lingos, but from a narration that's in English that's not in the our lingos. There's lots of different things going on there, and I'm not exactly certain what NAGRA's meaning by that line, babbling our lingos. And in a sense, I think that might be the point. But it's also where the danger lies. But it's also where the poetry lies. And it's also where the politics lies. And this is what I'm going to be talking about. Look, irony sort of sounds cool. Because irony is something that's a doubling of meaning. It means it's about meaning something other than you mean. And therefore it can be seen to oppose kind of strict, restrictive meanings. There's something fun about irony. There's something uncertain about irony. And uncertainty seems kind of a force for good, or a force for subversion against kind of the rigidity of absolute certainty. But I remember a few years ago, there was a controversy because the kind of UK TV personality. Jeremy Clarkson appeared on, the One Show, which is, the 7 o'clock going out to kind of families kind of show. And on that, as part of a longer joke, it was kind of the context that was in a part of a longer joke, he said that public servants, like traffic wardens, teachers, should be shot in front of their children. And there was understandable outrage, but lots of kind of earnest young men went on YouTube and stuff to explain what they understood the position to be, and that is that, as they said, Clarkson is an ironist. He's just being ironic. And I think by that, what they really meant was kind of Jeremy Clarkson was being sarcastic, that when he said we should shoot public servants, he didn't really mean that we should shoot public servants. That was the last thing in his mind. He was making a joke about something else, and that's not what he meant. But I'd like to take them up on that idea that there is, that there is maybe something ironic about what Jeremy Clarkson was saying there. Because if they're right, and Jeremy Clarkson was being ironic about the need to shoot public servants in front of their kids, then of course, in one sense, he absolutely meant that you shouldn't shoot public servants in front of their kids. Yet at the same time, he totally meant that of course you should. It's the doubleness of that makes it ironic. And I think from this you can see, whatever he intended, whatever Jeremy Clarkson might have meant, I think you can see in this something of the dangers of irony, the kind of subversion of irony, the power of irony to do things that aren't particularly nice. Irony allows you to get away with saying terrible things because of course you mean it, and of course you don't mean it at the same time. It can be a very repressive force. And I think the idea is in irony that usually we kind of celebrate it as those young men did about Jeremy Clarkson and say it's this wonderful, wonderful thing. But actually when we celebrate it, what we actually want is to stop it. And for actually irony in the end to mean one thing and one thing alone. So I think the danger sometimes with reading this poem is we can start thinking that look, we have coming to Dover is simply and only saying what we wanted to say, what I hope you wanted to say, which is immigration is wonderful. It's a force for poetry and change and is amazing. But the irony means that it's always saying something else.